Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Imon's podcast here on the Patreon. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about Attack on Titan, since it is back after it's another long hiatus that they'll have to go on, and going back into another immediate hiatus because we got the single episode. So we're here today. Imon, thanks for being here. How are you doing?
Hi, Eric. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I know we've been gone for I think about a month now, just recording these. That's because I was severely ill for the month of February. And so I was trying to recover. I could barely sit up long enough to just record and talk for an hour. But yeah, we're back. I'm finally feeling better. So I'm happy to be back in time for this, just because I know Attack on Titan is such a incredible show that we both love a lot. I think it's definitely shot up there as one of my favorite animes. Not even just animes. I think one of my favorite shows of all time. Just because the complexity of it. But yeah, I know you said just before we started that you managed to watch the new episode, the new special. So yeah, I guess generally let's just dive into it. What did you think of the new episode? Where the story's gone now?
Well, I'm very happy with where it went, because for a second I was having some, and I brought this up in the reaction and discussion. I was having some fears of where the story was going, just because the last season, which is the final season, it just seemed like it was just going down a really dark path, which, not to say that Attack on Titan is a lighthearted anime, but it was just taking a turn where I was like, this is interesting. And I think it was more of maybe it was the fans that were commenting and really being like, yeah, we're totally for this genocide. Whatever Eren does is great. And then it kind of put me off of Attack on Titan for a second. And so seeing where the last two chapters, just where Isayama took it, I was like, okay, great. He put a clear line in the sand right now, where he's like, no, this is where I stand with this. Let me make this very clear, guys. This is not a good thing. And maybe people needed to see that clear line, and it was hard to kind of see it, I guess.
Right.
Maybe. But I had to take a step back, and I had to rewatch just some episodes of the season 3, which really kind of brought me back to Attack on Titan is extremely complex, and there's a really beautiful story to this, and how does it end? And so yeah, they did it was terrifying, I think, just seeing the rumbling take place, and what actually, just all the destruction.
Right.
We could finally see what it was going to look, and it was really devastating. Yeah, scary.
Yeah.
But I'm happy where it's going.
Yeah. I mean, same. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's because I know as the series has gone on, including before even the manga ended, that people were kind of questioning where the message of the story was going with Isayama, because I know people have said they believe he has a problematic past with his kind of Japan potentially nationalist beliefs, stuff like that. So it's hard to dilute that into
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a conversation online for a couple years. I'd say 2-3 years ago. But where is this actually going? Because they are not sure if he's pro Japan genocide, stuff like that. It's it gets very messy, obviously, because of atrocities of war, stuff like that. However, like you said though, I really do think that the message of the story has come to fruition. I think, even though we have only one more episode left, and we still don't know where it ends, I think the point of the story has finally come into focus for myself, at least, which is which I think was exemplified really well with Hanji's kind of speech last or not this season, but in the last chunk of the season, where she's talking to John, and she's lamenting, kind of giving a speech about what do we do? Are we just going to allow this to happen? And we see the image of the Scout Corps, everyone who's died, Erwin and all of them behind her. And she's saying it doesn't matter. Genocide is wrong, and someone has to stand against that. I think that's kind of the ultimate message of the story is yes, you can have vendettas and like, needs for revenge and like, who did what to who. And like, that's all understandable in like a certain sense. Like we all understand that like, you can be hurt by someone and you can like really want to take revenge on them, and vice versa. That can then like, cause you to hurt someone. They really want revenge on you. It's a vicious cycle.
Right.
And there's no right answer to like either side. There's no right answer to like one side is more just than the other, but there is like a line to be had eventually where it's like, yes, like, eventually to getting to the point where dehumanizing one side and saying like everyone on that side like deserves to die because of like my hate towards them is wrong. And that's where the line in the sand is, that genocide is wrong. Like more than anything else. I really do appreciate that message. It's kind of like, it's very similar to what I like about Naruto. Like I know you never watched Naruto, but like the ultimate message of Naruto is like anti-war. That's pretty much what it is.
Oh, interesting.
And so the message of this is kind of like it's very similar, but it's like obviously like much more adult in the way it's executed. And yeah, this new special, I like you said, I like the way they are setting this up as like another like kind of complicated answer to like, one, like they obviously want to stop it because it's wrong. Like it's wrong to like just let the world die this way. But two, it's also like they are still trying to find a way to get to Aaron. They believed for the first half that they have a possibility to reach out to him and kind of talk him down from this.
Right.
But even, he gives them sort of the answer, like that like this can't end in a conversation. Like you guys, if you're going to stop me, I'm going to give you the opportunity, the free will to stop me, but like you have to just kill me because because this isn't going to stop just because like I'm going to change my mind.
Yeah. Do you think it's because he feels like he's too far gone now at this point? Like
it's hard to say because like I was also curious about that because before this special, I did think it was like totally his decision. Like totally his, like he decided of his own free volition that this is the answer that he feels he needs to do. However, within this special though, I do feel like there's some sort of maybe like abstract force kind of pulling him to do it. Like, cause we see him crying, thinking with the kids and like him questioning the idea of like fate. Like, is this just going to happen because like it's meant to happen? And on one hand, like I don't want it to be like something where he's like a slave to like the force of the founder titan or whatever. I do think I kind of do want it to be like something he chose in a sense, but I do like the idea that maybe like it's the powers of the titan, like the founding titan, the attack titan, and so on, are overwhelming him with this idea of like fate and like pulling him in a way where maybe he's not like 100% in his right mind, to like that this isn't a decision he would want to do if he didn't have this power. And that could just be like, a parable too for like just the idea of like, power corrupting your mind to like do things that you otherwise might not have done, if you didn't have that power to execute it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm forgetting, but when the Rice family had the founding titan, they had that titan, correct? Is
the founding titan? Yes, they had it until Grisha took it from them.
They did.
Yeah.
Okay, so because it seems like when they are in possession of the founding titan, they're under its control, which they just can't help. But it almost seems like potentially Aaron had certain free will, but maybe it's just this, what is it? Like there is something that isn't in control. Like it's just like, or if it's not within the Reese family, it does something else, where he thinks it's his idea and it needs to happen, but maybe I'm just thinking about that right now. Like when you said that, I was like, well, doesn't it already have a potential to control anyways? Like it has.
Yeah.
It's just, they thought it was a different thing. It's like, oh, if you're a part of the Reese bloodline, you have to do it one way. But maybe it's just like it's evolving now that it's within a different body, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. The other theory I had, which I'm not entirely sure about this yet, but I thought maybe that it's Emir, like the first Emir, that's like kind of driving him to do it, because we saw him when Zeke and him went to the coordinate, that he kind of like woke her up like out of like her slave slumber. Like maybe she is like finally awake and finally like saying like, this is what I want now. This is like, so now like similar to like
revenge.
Similar to the king controlling like the Rice family. It's like her sort of controlling Aaron in a way, or influencing him, because we see them standing together side by side.
That's true.
By the coordinate. So it's possible. Yeah. That's again, true. Like it's a very delicate line to walk, and I kind of want it to be like a mixture of both, because I think I would like, I would appreciate like the through line of having, the Titan powers sort of like influencing Eren in a way that does line up with like how we've seen it influence other people. But on the same, other hand, I want Eren to kind of have his own agency, because I think it's such a big, message of the story too, is the agency and like having your own like, free will to do what you want in the world, be it Ymir or like, Reiner and Eren, people like, they had like the really horrible idea of like children like, having their agency taken away by like, the powers that be, because like that's just the world they live in. And like, yeah, being able to overcome that for like the betterment of the world and for your people.
Yeah, I think Armin even asked him, right? It was like the last line before the end of chapter 2. He said, are you sure you're free? Or so, I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
the lines, but he's like, I have a question to ask you, Eren. And it was something along the lines of, are you really free? And so maybe that it does go in like hand in hand with this whole conversation of like, is Eren actually doing this from his free will?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I do like the theory, like your theories. I don't know, because it just it seems like the two children, like Aaron's child self and then Ymir,
Mm-hmm.
her child self, they're like trying to do something, and and they're both coming from like pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Putting like that type of power in like angry children's hands.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, like that's
I mean,
not good.
yeah. And like, that's like, I guess that's, the message of like trauma and like, like living a life like built around trauma and like seeing horrific things as a child. Like, you grow up, even like, they're essentially child soldiers, because like as soon as they, get taken away from the wall in the first episode, like they go straight to the military training essentially. And like, that's just all Eren ever knows. And yeah, I think even that, we see the first rumbling at the, not in this episode, but the finale of the last season section. Like when we see the, colossal titans coming towards the shore, like we see they repeat the image of Eren being taken away, by Hannes, like when his mother's about to be eaten. And it's like, yeah, that's like that vicious cycle, that thing of like, that's still like kind of almost like mentally where he is. Like he's still just this kid who's like angry and like seeing these horrific things. And he's just like enacting like this, this childlike vengeance of like not really like wanting to understand that there's like this other side and stuff. And yeah, I can see how this is very overwhelming for particularly protagonists, because like I think that's such a interesting part of that about this, is that Eren was our main character for so long. So now it's like very, very interesting to have him be like essentially the final villain of the series. Now we have to follow everyone else, trying to stop him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that's why I understand why people were kind of rooting for Eren, because I get it. Like you usually root for the protagonist, the main character. He's our guy. So I get it. But then it's interesting because it does talk about just our own like how we process certain difficult things. Like when we love somebody, we kind of excuse a lot of their behaviors sometimes, maybe like in real life, or we don't want to. We're just kind of like, no, they mean well. No, they mean well. And I think it comes down to, we can love someone, we can care for somebody, but when they start to go against like our morals, like just morally something's off, we need to be good friends and go and actually still try to talk to them like that. I just feel like Armin, Mikasa, and John and Connie, like they're the best friends anybody could ever ask for, because they're still like, no, we're gonna talk to him still. We're gonna still try.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting how bias is a really big deal. Like people, if you like somebody, you will allow them to do things that are a little off morally.
Yeah.
But I think, again, the line has been drawn. I really feel like, and I brought this up in the reaction too. I was so confused with all the flock love. I was so like, what is going on? Are we watching two different shows here? And I think the answer Isayama answered everybody in this last episode, which was Hanji and Flock both died in the same area, but one of them was with their friends.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, we've been watching, and now you get to talk to us and tell us all about what happened. And it's actually really sad because Flock he was doing what he thought was the right thing. And he felt like he understood Erwin, but he didn't have like the full understanding of Erwin's past and like everything that led up to that. He only saw the march to the Beast Titan.
Yeah.
So that was something that I felt like was really important to be put into the series.
Yeah.
Because we needed that, like, this is again not this is not what Erwin wanted, and it's not what we want for the characters to be like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah. I agree. Like the Flock, love and like appreciation for him. Like on one hand, I understand like where it's coming from. I understand like the people who can empathize with like Flock's stance, which is that, basically kill them before they kill us. Because it's, as we've seen with like the other sides of the world and immorality and stuff like that, it is a possibility. It is a possibility that the world really does hate Eldians, and like it is possible they could come and kill them. So it's like, it's not unfounded, his fear, like, right? But like the level at which he takes it to, which is that we need to like, the only way to end hate is to just kill everyone. It's like this like very kind of proactive, preemptive strike that they want to take. I think it falls in line well with what I said, which is Sayama trying to like just build up the message that, like we can take the hurt that, another person or like people has caused us, and like that can be a understandable stance for like how you feel about them, but there's like there just has to be like a eventual line somewhere. And Flock being like the kind of head of the Jaegerists and like being the voice for Eren now that he's kind of gone, made it complicated for I think fans to kind of like reconcile that he's supposed to be the quote unquote antagonist of this section of the story, because like we fought, like you said, we followed Eren for so long, so someone who's kind of like doing this stuff in his name, I guess you could kind of see it's like, like this must be like the reasonable thing, like Eren is justified entirely to like want to kill everyone, so Flock is also justified to follow him and uphold that vendetta. And I just think that we, like you said, we got to the point where I think Flock's death does put a nice little like pin on his story, which is like the final words that he said. I can't remember it verbatim, but he says something like, our devils, are our freedom, or give us our freedom, or something like that. Is the final words he said right before he was squished. But I think that's like a perfect button to put on like what this is like. Recognizing that Eren is like their quote unquote devil, that it's not something that's supposed to be like kind of like loved, but something that you're supposed to kind of like accept as something that will be a means to an end. I think is a good way for like us to understand him. He knows what they're doing is like violent and maybe cruel, but they just know that this is the only way they themselves can be free or safe. And it's hard to, when someone feels very, very oppressed or threatened, like it's hard to kind of like fault them 100% for that.
No, that's true.
For wanting to find like any way out of that. But yes, I do agree.
Yeah, that's coming from my being privileged of not being oppressed in that way. Because if I grew up in that type of environment where everybody was hating me for no reason, I would be it is a good point to look at the perspective. Because for me, I was just like, I don't get this. But if I'm opening up my mind more, there's people will do anything for freedom, for survival. It's nature. So I get that. But I was just like, what is it? Because Erwin is one of my favorite characters.
Yes,
so I felt like, don't kind of drag his name in the mud. Like, come on, guys. He's not a perfect guy, but he did things very calculated. Like everything he did was very thought out, very I mean, he was planning this since he was a child. Like since his father was killed,
Yeah.
he literally joined the scout regiment to get information to figure all of this out. So
Yeah.
this is like years. I mean, he's like a Gus Fring pretty much. Like
Yeah.
he's like, I'm going to take my time and have a chicken shop and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then yeah. And so Flock is Walter White. Wait, no, hold on, hold on, hold on.
No, I guess
Aaron is Walter White.
yeah, I don't know if maybe Zeke's Walter White because like again because like yeah like so
Yeah.
because again so much of it goes
He
back
has
to
the
like
glasses.
yeah you're right
too.
yeah he just needs to be bald.
Yeah.
He almost has the the goatee, the mustache,
He
the beard, and
does.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so much of it goes back to like we said, it just goes back to Aaron, being a kid and like being, a product of his father being taken away and like that shaping who he is as, being an adult. And then same for Zeke being, a kid and Grisha trying to, drill him into being like a spy warrior.
Yeah.
I guess that's, like another message too. It's just like like you have to be careful with like children. Like, you can enact,
Yeah.
as an adult, we can enact like our, revenge, like our, vendettas and stuff like that because like of
Yeah.
our history. But like the history that we're acting upon is like the future that we're building because the kids are going to see this and they're going to be the ones that now have different vendettas because of this stuff. And you can get your instant gratification now, but like you're really like not thinking ahead about like what's going to happen in the future because of like of your actions.
That is, I mean, that's really what it's been about. I think that the scene where all the Marley residents or citizens are on the, I don't know, the hill or whatever,
Mhm.
they're just kind of reliving what they did. Like Reiner's mother,
Yeah.
just was like, I've never done a motherly thing for my son. I just made him a child soldier, and it's easy to hate her or to get angry at her, but the truth is we learned really early on this indoctrination has been taking place for every citizen in the whole world, basically.
Mhm.
I mean, even when Erwin asks his father, who's a teacher, he's like, is this true? Like, how do we know all of this? His father is saying like, yeah, no, the government, I mean, it's my theory, but the government is writing these books to hide something more. I
Mhm.
think there's more to the story. So the Marleyans are indoctrinated on another history. Like it's just kind of how it works out for everybody. Everybody grows up in a certain way, and all of the hate and the beliefs and all of that just gets passed down. Like that's why Gabby is so angry for so long and hateful. And finally, I mean, honestly, it's like impressive that Gabby was able to become self-aware because she's so young.
Yeah.
That seems like, now that I look back at it, I'm like, wow, for her to have woken up that early is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But just the scene with Annie's father and everyone just having like this, like, I don't know if it's a come to God moment, but crying and just like they felt responsible, and also maybe like if only they could have done something differently, and they could have just spent normal, like sit on the couch, watched it. Well, I don't know if they had TVs back then, but like hanging out, like the freaking Zeke, all Zeke wanted was to play catch with his father, and he never got to do that. He did it with the other guy, I forget his name.
Oh,
but,
yeah. His mentor.
Yeah. So it's like, it's so funny because I'm watching Death Note and I'm feeling the same way. The same thing's happening to Light.
Yeah.
Like Light is, all he wanted was his father's attention.
Yeah.
His dad was too busy being amazing. But yeah, sometimes it really does come down to like what we do for our children.
Yeah.
It does.
And within that is like, again, like its own complexity, because it's this idea of like, for like Rainer's mother and Annie's father, like they both had like the same ultimate goal, which is to get to them to be warriors, because it means like a better life for so on and so on. But Rainer's mother was more like, I'm doing this because like I'm a single mother, and like this is almost like a sort of like her own like revenge to like get like something better for like being left alone with, to raise her son, stuff like that. And then Annie's father was like very selfish at first because he wanted it for himself,
Yeah.
to get himself a better life. But yeah, Annie's father, right before she goes, like, yeah, comes to terms with like, I'm sorry, I was wrong to like make you do this. Like, please, like whatever you do, just come back to me. And I think that's such an interesting, like, through line for Annie choosing to stay out of the fight in this last episode and sit with Falco and Gabby, because it's like, I think she, at this point, represents like a good, like you said, like a good kind of a symbol for what Falco and Gabby kind of need, which is someone just saying like, I'm sorry, like, like I understand what Aaron's doing is wrong, but like I can't do this anymore. Like I can't participate in this like cycle of like killing and stopping and like doing all this. Like she's just going to go off on the boat and sit with them. And I think Falco and Gabby, like, represent like, yeah, the chance, the opportunity for like a better future, like the two of them, becoming cultured in a way where like, the other side couldn't be. They grew up in Marley, but now they spent like enough time in on the island to see Sasha's family and to like understand like these people aren't evil, like they are hurt just like us, and like we hurt them and they hurt us back. And Gabby couldn't kill like people that saved her, and even though their daughter killed someone that she cared about back in Marley. So it's again like there's no right answer to like any of this, but there's like at least some answer to say like maybe I can like put aside like my hate and like and like learn to come to appreciate the people who don't want to hurt me, and like that that are taking care of me. I do feel like that's something that can be found like like in any side struggle that like we should just can never like dehumanize like entirely like a one side of something that we stand against. It becomes very, very messy in that regard.
Yeah, it does. And also it's just like it comes back to this 99% thing, because genuinely the 99% of the world is really not the problem. Just like when we've had this kind of argument of, well, we're the 99%, we're the ones that are being oppressed, and that's the 1% that's in control, and they're the ones making all these changes, and we're not our government, the people who are instilling the hate and creating the wars, like the majority of us, we're not like for it. It's like a lot of us just want peace. We just want to live and be happy. And so I just feel like, it's a big percentage of people, sadly, like we saw like Ramsey, that little boy, and his brother just being completely killed. And that was like the whole point of this genocide. If the rumbling does continue, let's say it goes, like it's supposed to kill everybody, everyone. So like, I keep going back to that, because I just felt like some viewers maybe just did not realize the gravity of that. So many people who died did not deserve to die. Like the majority of people.
It's because it's like this idea of like Aaron, like as we see throughout the series, like Aaron just has this kind of like progression of like what is like, it's the question Erwin asks, to him, like in the first season, like who's the real enemy? That like that famous meme where he whispers in his ear. And like that question like resonates throughout the whole series, and like it's Aaron trying to figure that out. Like is the enemy the Titans? Is it the people pretending to be Titans? Is it the government, controlling the secret of the Titans? Is it the world who like, started the Titans, whatever, it's like this idea of like, he cannot like get like a single answer out of this. And like, once he finally gets like the kind of Titan power, like the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan power to see and like comprehend what's out there. That's, when we see him on the beach and like, he just points across the sea. Says like, if we kill our enemies are out there, if we kill them, we'll finally be free. And it's like this overwhelming idea of like that, like, that's not just Marley, that's not just like the people who came to kill him. It's like it's literally the world. Like he now understands like the answer he's looking for is like just everyone. Like he can't find like a single answer to like any of this to like make them free, besides just killing everyone and no longer having like a single enemy to like worry about. And
that's so sad.
And we see that, like you said, we see that with the kids, like because Ramsey and his brother and like the others, like those were all refugees too, people who are also oppressed by Marley. And same for like Onion Capone, who's like, he says like my family didn't, like my people didn't do anything, any of this, like we're also oppressed and taken by Marley, like they're gonna die because of this, even though like he was trying to help them. And yeah, like it's yeah, again, like the idea that you can like have like hate in your heart because like what people did to you, like it's not totally like, you know, you can understand it, you can understand why that exists, but like you just have to be able to like, you know, be like a human being and like be above that and like think about like, you know, your actions, how it affects like not just people you're trying to target, but like people around it and like what that does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Gee, yeah, that's so sad. That is really interesting that Erwin would specifically ask Aaron that question.
Hmm.
And I feel like we're at a point now that it is answered in a way. The reason he did ask him that is because, well, I think isn't Aaron now an enemy to the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I mean,
he's
yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy because like they were afraid that
right.
this was going to happen, that this was like, you know, that if they attacked, this is like what the threat the king, you know, told them, right? Like if you attack me, like I'm going to release the rumbling and like just kill everyone in retaliation, as a kind of like, you know, like almost like a weapon of mass disaster
Yeah.
type thing. And we know, you know, like now that he was bluffing essentially. Like we know that he wouldn't do anything if they attacked because he doesn't want any more war or death. But yeah, but in their actions, like yeah, they eventually caused this. Like this is what, you know, they turned Aaron into like a weapon of mass destruction,
Yeah.
through his hate and like
Right.
now the power that he has. And if they had, yeah, they have left him alone. If they had not worried about it, like they might have, like none of this probably would happen. Like it was Marley's own fear of being outclassed by the rest of the world because they eventually had Titan killing weapons that they were afraid like we
Hmm.
need, you know, we need to get like the Founding Titan power back. We need to like kind of bolster our arms and weaponry through
Yeah.
that. And yeah, it just goes to show that it's now that they've done that, Aaron is uh, the enemy to like the whole world, and like they've
Yeah.
basically almost probably just started like a whole new cycle of
Yeah.
hate and
Right.
stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that goes into like my theory for like how the show or the series might end because like we both don't know how the series ends. We haven't read the manga, so
Hmm.
we can like freely speculate about that. And Armin's question about like free will and like asking Aaron like why haven't you just like controlled us to like to not stop you? And he says, you know, I want to give you the opportunity to you know make up your own mind. I do believe him on some level because I believe that, like I said, free will and agency is such a big thing in the show. I think that he would not want to like take away their free will the same way he's felt like, you know, they've all been taken advantage of like their whole lives and
Right.
brainwashed and like, you know, have their memories erased and so on. I think he wouldn't want to do that because like I think he feels like that's probably is like a really important thing to him to like let them have that. But I do feel that maybe on some level, like they said, he wants them to stop him because I think maybe there's an opportunity if they stop him, the world can see like, hey, like other Eldians stood
Yeah.
up
Right.
and like stopped him from
Right.
killing everyone. Have
That's a
like
great point.
hopefully this can buy them some like, you know, goodwill. So like the world can
Hmm.
like stop hating them and showing like this isn't what all Eldians want. This isn't what we all want. Like we like this
Yes.
is what
Yeah.
one person wanted, who and he doesn't speak for all of us. And maybe in that sense that can like hopefully free the world from this like cycle of hate of like the Eldians or like yeah these like devils that really just want to like
Hmm.
kill and like oppress everyone.
I like that theory a lot because that's like, yeah, you're right. Because right now they have an audience of Marley. I don't know who else is, if it's all Marley, even the soldiers that are up there.
Hmm.
I can't
I
remember,
think I
but
think it's Marley and then some Eldians, obviously like you know the families and stuff like that. But yeah,
yes.
if anyone else
Yeah.
is there, I think it's just probably yeah people who they conscripted into their
Yeah.
military.
Well, they get to see firsthand, like, not only our other Eldians, but the Titans,
Hmm.
because they're going to see Reiner and um, Peak and
Yeah,
other Armin probably, become Titans and stop another Titan, which is like that's the best headline on a newspaper you can have.
yeah,
It's like, okay, yeah, these Eldians may not be so bad. So that's like the perfect. They just need an audience to see this, and like if someone has like something to record or take pictures,
yeah,
they need a someone in journalism right now to be
yeah.
writing it all down. And then yeah, that's all they need is genuinely this to shift this thinking, this thought process, because it's just like that. It's just how the world is. It's not everybody is the same. We're all different. We all have our own beliefs. It doesn't matter where we're from.
Yeah.
We can, so just it's easy to swallow. Basically, the anime makes it like here you go, guys.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you about because I talked about this a little bit in my video, but at the end, they show the two trees. I was like, I did not realize that when they were in the and I'm forgetting the place that they end up going to, when Aaron calls them to like the desert, basically.
The coordinate. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that light was a tree. This whole time I just was like, it's just this big thing that's just going up, and then they show it as a tree.
Yeah. Well, I think that's almost by design. I think like if once you see it in like kind of glances, like you might not realize it's supposed to be a tree. It's just like this kind of like beam of light. I think now that we've kind of zoomed out over the series, if we see more and more of it, I think we can see the imagery areas. If we see more and more of it, like a giant tree.
Yeah, and well, it's just interesting because they show Aaron in the beginning of the episode, like when he was a kid, he had that dream underneath the tree.
Yeah,
and then we know that Ymir got her powers from that one twisted tree.
Yeah,
so she fell into. So it's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah, did you ever see the OVA, Lisa's Diary?
Yes. Yes.
The Titan.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, the Titan that speaks to her, and he says like a child of Ymir, like I'm humbled or something like that, and like he like bows to her. When he kills her, he puts her in a tree. He puts her body in a tree, and so like it's a big symbol, in imagery, like the trees that like represent like a lot of things. Obviously, I think that's gonna probably play some sort of maybe a role in like the finale of the whole thing.
Yeah, I just never even thought about it. It was just like this. But since they're making a big deal, they showed it. Like they're like, here, you guys, like this is something important. Don't forget this. This is, look into it.
Yeah. So that reminds me too. Like there are two things now that I remember that I want to bring up, which is that one. So I started reading the manga like from the beginning. So I'm not gonna I'm just gonna read what I've seen already in the show and like try to like catch up to what we're at now and then stop. I don't want to like spoil myself for the finale. But even in the first page of the manga, the very first panel is that beginning of this episode that we saw where he's waking up under the tree, and the first line in the whole series is Mikasa telling him see you later, Aaron, and that's she says that to him as he's like waking up, and then he says like Mikasa what happened? I feel like I was having like the longest dream ever, and like when did your hair get so long? And so my theory is that this is going to be some sort of like loop, like Aaron's consciousness is going to be like looped in some regard. Maybe he like was having a premonition of like these events to come. Maybe they can like send him back somehow to like change things. I don't know. Like I don't know if it's like literal time travel or whatever. But like we know the Attack Titan has the ability to like see through time essentially through like its other users and so on, and back so on. You can also see the memories of your past holders. So I do think that it's going to end somehow with like them stopping Aaron and like I don't know if they're going to kill him or separate his consciousness from like the power or whatever, and somehow they'll send him back as a kid. But yeah, I think that line, opening line of Mikasa saying "See you later, Aaron," is going to be like probably the final thing she says to him.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Does he say that hair comment in the anime, or is that only manga?
I think that might only be in the manga, or maybe no. He might say he might say it in the first episode, like the actual first episode of the series. Like I think he might say it. I just have to double check.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that he would say that.
And if that's the case, like again, like props to Isayama for just like thinking of so much of this like so far ahead of time. Like I'm sure like the best writing is like the ones that can adapt to like you write something, then later you're like, oh, I wrote this. I'm gonna make sure to bring that back and to tie it in. But like, there's so much stuff in this that's like implemented and like hinted at from the very beginning, even in the anime that they almost couldn't have like known later because it hadn't happened in the manga yet. Like it's like such like a incredible execution of like foresight to know what was going to be important later. That too. So that's one.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And then another thing that hasn't been hinted at or like really like I don't know where this is going to happen. So when Aaron touches Zeke in the previous section of the final season, and they become, one, and they go to the coordinate. We see like Aaron's like almost like life flashing before his eyes. There's like, like swishes of like, like all the events that's happened. We see like all his friends, stuff like that. If you watch that scene again, if you slow down really quickly, there are two faces that pass by right before the end. They looks like a goth girl and a boy wearing like a regular like t-shirt and like glasses, like modern like attire. Yeah, she has like a choker and like earrings and like kind of like makeup and like goth hair. It's like really, so I'm not sure if like, yeah, like the series is gonna like have like a flash forward where we see like the world like, like another 1,000 years from now, whatever, like without Titans, or like, like that's moved on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Yeah, if you go back and watch,
what episode is that?
That's the episode where like Zeke and Aaron finally touch, when like Aaron gets his head blown off, and and Zeke catches it, and like and they touch and like go to the coordinate. Like, yeah, you'll see like all this stuff whooshing
I'll have
by.
to rewatch that.
Yeah, if you see it, yeah, like it's very quick. It's like right before like that sequence ends. Yeah, it's so, again, like it's just like there's so much stuff like just sprinkled into the series that I'm in awe of, because of like, how much forethought they put into it.
Yeah, that is, I honestly, it's so crazy to me how some writers I don't know how they do it. Like it's like really, because it's like the story is complicated enough and it's so good. But to be able to be like, yeah, this is gonna come back, and I'm gonna surprise everybody.
Yeah,
it's a gift. I mean, I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, it truly
but
is.
It's just like, it's so cool. You've seen Nausicaa, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, there are so many similarities with Nausicaa and Attack on Titan,
yeah,
and
I can see that.
I don't know if it's confirmed. But if Isayama is probably a huge Miyazaki fan, because who isn't? But they're not only the Titans being similar, like the warriors who destroy the earth, but there's even a scene when Nausicaa falls down through the sand, and the person she ends up meeting, I don't know if you remember, but they fall down and they're in this like it looks like this crystallized type of place, and it's, I think, season 3 of Attack on Titan, when I forget his name, but Rice and Historia and we've got Eren locked up in chains, and they're under this like crystallized
in
place.
They're like caverns.
So that's like straight out of Nausicaa. So that's why it was like there's a lot of, and then there's stuff with trees. There's some weird like similarities there, and I
could definitely see that. Yeah, totally. Even from when I haven't seen that in like several years, but like even from what I can remember, there's definitely just the idea of like this overgrown world kind of dwarfing them, and like that's similar to Attack on Titan with Ymir. The first Ymir, the tree that she falls under is this giant overgrown tree. And even on the island, there's like that section where they hide, where like they hide in those like giant overgrown trees that are even too tall for the Titans to like reach up and grab them at.
Yeah, right.
Drew, for those who know, my girlfriend Drew, like she watches it with me. I got caught up on the show this past like couple years, and her theory is like, it's even more out there. Her theory is that they're living in a post-apocalyptic world where like that was ended by nuclear war. And like the trees and themselves, and like then the sea creature thing that attaches itself to Ymir because of their power, is like a byproduct of like nuclear war. It's like the charged entity. It's like that'd be crazy, because that'd be insane, because then you're like, not only are they living in like a more modern world now, they're living in a postmodern world of like
wow,
that'd be insane. I don't know if it's gonna go that far, but like that would be crazy.
I like that theory too. I mean, it's, who knows. It honestly, because it does seem like it's a loop.
Yeah.
It just keeps looping. And sometimes, we like to say history repeats itself, and there's like dark ages, and then there's enlightenment ages, and then there's dark ages, and maybe that's just what it is. But I don't know. I would love to. I mean, I love how everyone, this anime is so good that everyone's like, what is going on here? But you and Drew should watch Nausicaa. I don't know if she's ever seen it, but
I don't think she's seen it now.
She would love it. First of all, I know that for a fact, but just as like a rewatch to kind of, you'll see what I mean. And I think it'll end similar to how Nausicaa ends.
Yeah.
I
can
have
see
a
that.
feeling it'll be yeah. Well, I don't want to spoil
Mhm.
stuff for other people who haven't seen Nausicaa, but
Yeah.
I just feel like it will end like that.
Uh,
Which I'm hoping.
Yeah, there's something I would recommend you. If you I'll see if I can find it and send it to you. But there's a video that Studio Ghibli made several years ago. I want to like maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. That was a short video. It's like 10, 15 minutes long, and it's a prequel to Nausicaa that shows
Oh,
like when those creatures came down and the warriors and like basically ended the world.
yeah.
It's really crazy, like, and it's obviously it's like very overwhelming, but like
Where
I'll see if I can
they?
find it, because
Oh
I
yeah,
remember last I checked,
please.
it's like you can't like just YouTube it. It's like on, it was like on a Vimeo link somewhere that I probably could find it, but yeah.
Okay, probably. I don't even know if you should say that out loud. Like, I'm worried because they're so.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even know.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll find it and send it to you, just because it's a
Okay.
really cool video.
Oh, I would
Yeah,
love to watch that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And something too, like, because I know we'll wrap up here for a review, but something, since we're talking about yeah, oppression and like agency and like the idea of like kind of overthrowing your oppressors in like a violent way,
Hmm.
just through that, I kind of remembered there's a documentary like I really liked. It came out a couple years ago. It's called Let It Fall, and it's about the 91 LA riots, and
Oh, okay.
just like that idea of like, how does it come to that? How does like a
Hmm.
system, fail like a people to an extent where like all the, I always love the line, I think it's from the movie Detroit. It's like, if idea of like, if you feel like you live in a prison eventually and you want to get out, eventually the only thing to do is break out and to like
Hmm.
destroy the prison, and like
Hmm.
that's, when we have like, areas of like, riots and like people kind of like, breaking out and like in protest, stuff like that. It's built upon like a system where like they feel oppressed, and for particularly for like the LA riots that happened, like it's a really good documentary showing like the instances that happen with like certain people being killed in the community and leading up to like
Yeah.
the Rodney King video and stuff. And like I think it's a really cool documentary just to watch in general. So like I think it might be on HBO Max. So
Okay.
if you can find it, I'll see if I can find it and see where it is for you and let you know. But like,
What
yeah,
was it called again?
Let It Fall.
I would love to watch that. I'm trying to delve into more of like doing documentary reactions too. So that might
Mhm.
be a good one to potentially put on the list. These are really important. Like it's like Attack on Titan isn't just made to be made. Like
Mhm.
there is a real human aspect to the series, and that's like what happens when you are oppressed, what
Mhm.
happens when you are told you are nothing or you're evil or you're bad or less than. Like eventually someone's gonna say enough is enough,
Mhm.
and you can't be shocked by that. Like it's important. And as much as I've disliked Flock, I can see like that type of young person growing up in that society and just wanting to like rise up.
Yeah.
Like as much as I don't agree with him, it doesn't mean that his perspective isn't, less than. Like
Yeah.
I do get that, so I do appreciate your bringing that up too, because it's easy to just throw someone's perspective aside
Mhm.
sometimes. We're like, they're not right,
Yeah.
but everyone is coming from a place of like their own understanding, their own like belief systems, and they're not like from nowhere.
Yeah.
It's coming from somewhere. That guy he really was, he did believe in what he believed in.
Yeah.
And it's too bad he just didn't get it, the enlightenment before he died.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sadder part, and I guess that's like the real world too. That's just what happens. But wow, I was
Yeah. I
I'm
know.
just thinking about that theory that Drew is talking
Yeah.
about. I've never even thought of that
Yeah,
at
that would
all.
be insane. That'd be really crazy if that turned out to be the case. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know Isayama says he's not going to write another story after this, and like I don't blame him.
Oh,
Like I don't blame him.
yeah.
Like if like he just retires after this, because like in
Yeah.
my opinion, it's like it's a masterpiece like right out the gate.
Yeah. he needs to stop. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
He needs rest.
Yeah.
Like take some. This is, I don't know how mentally he's even able to do this story, because I feel like it's got to be so draining. You
Yeah.
know, it's just a lot of important stuff out there, but it's dark.
Mhm.
And I'd love to know what his like mental health like regimen is. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Do you take walks? Do you what do you watch to let off the steam?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish you would make an interview about that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you recorded it. You have a reaction up soon. We're gonna put this episode out on Patreon and YouTube for everyone to listen, obviously, because we want everyone
Yeah.
to kind of be in the conversation. If you can, yeah, comment with your thoughts, on the show, on the series. Obviously, no spoilers, please. Just be safe. We're gonna probably not check the comments
Yeah.
directly. We're gonna like kind of glance maybe a little bit here and there, but like just because people love to spoil stuff. But yeah, we appreciate anyone who's listening to this, because it's such an important show to both
Yeah,
of
it
us,
is.
and we really love doing these podcasts. So it was a real treat today to do this one.
Yeah, and then we also have other episodes on Patreon. They just haven't been released, but this is kind of a special occasion, so
Mhm.
it's like let's release this to YouTube.
Yes.
So if you're interested in any other podcasts, you can go to Patreon, and those links are in the description box below.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, Imon, for another week of this.
Yes, excited to keep doing these. So thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah, have a great week, everyone.